Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay and today I'm going to be looking at a sort of buyer's guide for Star Wars Legion for 2019. Now the disclaimer there is we are right at the very end of 2018, but I wanted to separate this video from my previous buyer's guide, which was essentially done when the game had just come out. A lot of things hadn't settled then, we hadn't had as many units released, that kind of thing, and I wanted to do an updated version of it, so I'm calling this one 2019. But do keep in mind that in 2019 many new things will come out. For example, in January we are getting the specialists, and then we're going to have Jyn Erso and Krennic and all that kind of stuff, and I'm obviously not recommending to buy those at this point because they're not out. So just a little bit of a disclaimer there. And all I'm going to do is sort of update the previous one. Now the previous one had stuff like brushes and what kind of stuff to buy, and if you bought everything you would just get into the hobby. Whereas in this one I'm just going to look at like two really basic but capable lists, essentially getting you an army on the table that will work reasonably well, and or preferably both, you can upgrade very easily in the future to a very competitive list if that's the way you really want to go. So one of the key questions is going to be whether or not you should buy two core sets, and I now believe that the answer to that is yes. So you'll know, anybody regular to the channel will know I do like my spreadsheets. If you are regular to the channel and you've not subscribed, or you just think this guy's great, I'll subscribe, then please hit the subscribe button. I'm doing it at the start of the video because people recommend that. So we're going to look at the Rebel one first, and then we'll look at the Imperials. And all I've done is I've made like a list, and I've got a link to the list, which in this case is the Tabletop Admiral list builder. You can use any one you like. And what I'm going to recommend here, basically these four sets are what I recommend for you to buy like now. If you were getting into the game and you wanted a decent list. And then I've given some recommendations after you've bought those. They're not necessarily the best recommendations in terms of competitiveness, but I think they're good recommendations in terms of like enjoyment and variety, that kind of thing. And then we'll do the same for the Imperials. So let's have a look at the list first, and then we'll talk through exactly what you would buy for it. So for the Rebel one, it will look like this. I'm using Tabletop Admiral, hence why the camera's on this side instead of the other side. I recommend two core sets. Ideally, you would want to split your core set. You should pick a faction that you want and split the core set with somebody so that you get two Rebel versions of it or two Imperial versions of it. You might as well swap the commanders so you both have a Luke and you both have a Vader, but if you could do that, then you would end up with 4 core troops, either two AT-RTs or 2 speeder bikes. It would be pretty, when I say 2 speeder bike units, it would technically be 4 speeder bikes. And that would be the best value. But in this list here, I'm saying, you know, if you bought it yourself, this is the way you would have, that's how much money you would have to spend. And keep in mind that those are Element Games affiliate links. So if you really like me and you want to buy stuff through there, I will essentially get money if you do that. If you dislike me, then don't do that. 2 core sets. The core sets are really good value. If you bought 2 for yourself, you would have 4 units of troopers, 2 AT-RTs, or 2 units of speeder bikes, Luke and Vader. It's just really good value. And as I said, if you can split it, then that is the best. So we use Luke, classic. Yeah, those are the upgrades I would take with him. Stims you would get if you buy the Rebel Commandos, which is why one of the reasons I actually recommend buying the Rebel Commandos. Leia, just with no upgrades, she's a worthwhile character buying as well. And then 4 units of Z6 troopers, basically. That's a plain Rebel unit, and they have a special weapon guy who I will actually randomly bring up onto the camera, who looks like this. He's like a machine gun, and yeah, it's the most cost-effective thing. So a list like this, where you've got 4 of them, all with the Z6, you're not going to go wrong there. You know, if you could have 5 and you want to buy 5, that's more than fine. And then I've gone with a full unit of Rebel Commandos just to fill out the points. A lot of people like just the sniper teams, but these are just like an example cheapest list you can get. Not cheapest list you can get, but a good, cheap, solid list. And then with your 2 AT-RTs, I've whacked on the Rotary Blaster because it's a decent all-rounder. What do we get? So the Luke comes from the core set. Leia you would have to buy. 2 units of Rebels come from one core set. 2 units of Rebels come from the other core set. The Rebel Commandos would be its own upgrade. And then the 2 AT-RTs would come in the 2 core sets. And that's what you can see here. 2 core sets. Leia, Rebel Commandos. Now in UK terms, that's £170 essentially using these element games. The USD rates are estimated. I don't have a good source for that. Miniature Market might be your best place, not really sure. And if you could split the core sets, as in you buy one and your friend buys one and then you split them, you get that down to like £100. Pretty decent and a solid list, like an all-round decent list. You would win games with it, and it wouldn't be you wouldn't be handicapping yourself or anything like that. And then my recommendations after that, by the way, I do recommend Leia. You might not use her eventually because you might think I'll run Han and Chewie and stuff like that, but she offers a great like versatility and variety for the Rebels, so I would definitely pick her up because it's literally like £10. So for sure I would pick up the characters just because they offer you a lot of versatility for not much money. And that goes for my recommendations after you've bought that. You buy Han, you buy Chewie, they're both like £10 each, and you know, they play quite differently, and you gain a lot of options for not that much money. And then I'd probably recommend a unit of Wookiees for fun. Everybody likes Wookiees, and they're a pretty decent unit as well. Add a bit of, you know, punch to the Rebels. Another unit of Rebel troopers with the Z6 trooper. The Rebels really like the Z6 trooper at the minute. Now, hopefully that'll possibly change if we ever get any more core units, but right now it'd be hard to look past buying another box of them. The one recommendation I'm leaving off there is maybe 2 units of Rebel Commandos, which sounds excessive, but essentially the sniper teams are pretty damn good. So people either run 2 or 3 snipers just in 2-man units. But it can be like £66 for essentially 6 models that you're going to use on the table. It can be pretty excessive for what it is, so I've not put that on this list here, but you might want to do that. So that's the Rebels. I think, you know, a fairly decent price for a fairly decent list, and we'll move on to the Imperials. Again, I'm going to recommend 2 core sets. Great value, as I said, you get 2 in 1 core set. You get 2 of each core units for each faction, and if you buy 2 core sets, then you get 4 core units. Wow, too much of the word core. I think the actual word is corpse, but I just say core. So in this case it would be, let's have a look at the list, we'd be rocking Stormtroopers primarily with the DLT weapon because it's generally the most cost effective, and we'll be rocking 4 units of those. I have upgraded 1 unit of Stormtroopers here with an extra Stormtrooper and the frag grenades. The frag grenades would come with the Royal Guard just because we would, to try and get the points up. Ideally you'd probably want an extra unit in there, but I couldn't swing it without buying an extra unit and messing about with it. But so we've got Veers as the leader. Now you might be thinking, hey Jay, why don't you just use Vader? I've seen some of your videos, you love Vader. I do love Vader, but I think he can possibly be quite frustrating for a lot of people, and Veers, again, like Leia, offers you a bit of variety. Cheap commander. A lot of people are saying that the generic commander that comes out in January will be a good replacement for Veers, so do keep that in mind if you're watching that after they've come out. So Veers, he's a £10 commander. You know, you're doing a decent thing if you get him. 4 units of Stormtroopers because they come with the 2 core sets. Boba Fett is such a good unit for the Imperials. He just offers a lot of versatility and variety in playstyle. He's movement 3, he can jump, he's very maneuverable like that. He's got like a Swiss Army knife set of skills and abilities. Really a fantastic character, and something like just throwing emergency stims on him, which I think he comes with, is more than fine. I personally at the minute wouldn't run an Imperial list without Boba Fett, even with Vader. I think Vader and Boba is a better list than just Vader. I think Veers and Boba is a better list than just Veers. So buy Boba Fett, I think, if you're playing the Imperials. He's too good to pass up. If you've got a reason to not play him, fair enough, but I personally would get him in there. The Imperial Royal Guard, I've just thrown them in. I think they're a good unit, especially if you're not running somebody like Vader. With the Electoral Staff Guard, that is a sort of counter, I say counter, to Luke Skywalker. They're not actually a strong counter, but they will hold him up and slow him down and stuff like that. Boba Fett actually does a decent job of that, but no harm in having a bit of redundancy there. And then the 2 speeder bike units, which are actually 2 units of 2, they come in the double core set, a little bit like the ATRTs. A lot of people are either running 3 bikes or no bikes. But if you want to go no bikes, you probably then have to buy the Scout Troopers, which are basically the sniper teams that I was talking about for the Rebels. But again, they're £22 for maybe you actually get 6 models in there, but a lot of people are just running the 2-man version of that unit. And it can seem like not a waste of money, but it can seem quite expensive for what you get, basically. But this list, you know, same thing as the Rebel one. It's fine, it's good, you know what I mean? I actually think the Rebel one might be a little bit stronger, just because tuning to speeder bikes is a little bit on the cusp of you might not get your points back, they might not be utilised the best. So the first thing I personally would do after I'd bought those would probably be to buy some Scout Troopers and Snow Troopers and maybe try and look at ditching the speeder bikes. Now the Imperial one is a little bit more expensive, by what, £11? But again, if you can split a core set with your friend, so you're playing just the Imperials and they're playing just the Rebels, you can knock £70 off that, 110 quid. If you can do that, maybe even eBay it if you can't find a friend to play with. You'll look at 110 quid for a full, decent, varied, versatile army for a war game. I think that's more than fine. Recommendations after that: Scout Troopers, as I said. Again, people are two or three is probably the correct number, but again, it's a lot of money just for a specific unit. You've got to look at that of deciding how competitive you want to be, and as soon as how quickly do you want to get to that super extreme competitiveness. And keep in mind that we're getting new stuff pretty much every month. So is it worth buying 3 of something only for it to possibly be overwritten in a month or so? So I would probably hold off that if I was recommending to beginners. Snow Troopers, you can't really go wrong with Snow Troopers as they are a core unit. They are more than fine, and offer like a different alternative to the DLT Troopers. I didn't recommend the Fleet Troopers for the Rebels. They're also fine. Like everything, like almost nothing that you buy would be bad. You know, if you want to buy the E-Web, buy one of them, fine. If you want to buy the turret for the Rebels, crack on. You want to buy Palpatine, feel free. Do you know what I mean? Just, you've got to tailor it to your own playstyle. But I think these are just like really solid, basic starter lists, which I can't say very well. And you won't really go wrong with them. And I thought it was time to update this video. So hopefully, maybe you're a beginner. If you're a beginner and you really haven't bought any paints or anything like that, then do check out my previous video. But if you're a beginner, maybe you already play our war game and you were wondering how much it costs, how much would it cost to have a decent army, then this has been updated, and you know, you can. I mean, if you want to study it beforehand, become super competitive, feel free. But if you're just interested, you just want to get it up there, maybe go to a couple of events, maybe go to your local store and play these lists. A good value for money, basically. Yeah, that's it. So I said at the start, if you're not already subscribed, do consider subscribing. It does really help. If you want to support me on Patreon, I would really appreciate it. That sounds weird. Please consider supporting me on Patreon. It really gives me motivation and the funds to buy stuff that maybe I wouldn't otherwise buy. And I've got a little studio set up in this room now, so I'm going to be able to do battle reports and stuff like that. By studio, it's a table, but it's a dedicated space for me to actually record videos. If you want to chat to me, Discord, Facebook. I know there's been a gentleman, I presume gentleman, could be a lady, who's been asking me rules questions on one of the videos. That's, I mean, more than fine to keep cracking on there, but it's probably a little bit easier and immediate if you want that kind of conversation for either Facebook, the Facebook group, or Discord. I'm pretty much always on those, so do keep that in mind. If you like this video, do like. Other than that, I think that's everything. I'm off now. That's the end of the video. You should definitely have a most beautiful day. Oh, the link to what you saw on the spreadsheet will be in the description below, and it's a Google Doc, so pretty much anybody can just go in and view that. Other than that, have a most beautiful day, and goodbye. Bye.